Okay, so hi everybody. Today we're going to be talking about studying or working in Australia as an SLP. And I have one more person joining, so five SLPs here from India who have gone to Australia either to study or to work. So I think we'll start off with an introduction. Let's start off with, I think, Priya Shree. If you can tell us a little bit about yourself, where you studied your bachelor's, what you did, and then what you're currently doing right now.
Yeah, hi everyone. So myself Priya Shree So I'm from India. So I did my bachelor's at Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education Research. I did my bachelor's in audiology and speech language pathology. So I just completed in 2022. So after 2022, I just did as an intern for like 6 months in a private clinic. It's a multidisciplinary clinic. After that, I just switched clinic for a different exposure and different set of clients. So I again joined another pediatric clinics, which was again a multidisciplinary team. So I also did I didn't want to stick on with one thing, so I just did as a part-time and where I just got introduced to two different schools. So a Montessori setup and an inclusive school setup. So I had an opportunity to work everywhere. So with that, I also took teletherapy at the evenings to make me myself occupied. So I just had a couple of different exposures and I just started my master's at University of Canberra in ACT. I'm doing my master's in speech pathology, and I just started by February 2023. So I'm just currently in my second semester.
Oh, okay. That's nice. All right, so we will discuss more about this later. Let's have an introduction from Manasa.
Yep. Hi, my name is Manasa. Priya Shree and I have the same history. Both
Okay.
of us were classmates. We did our bachelor's in Ramachandra University. Same as that. I graduated in like August 2022, and I pretty much had like 6 months before I joined my master's. And I was pretty much focused on trying to get into uni. But then I worked part-time at, you must have heard of soul speech therapy.
Yes.
Yeah, I worked there for a few months, and then I got into, now currently I'm doing my master's at Curtin University in Western Australia. Yeah, and my second semester as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. That's awesome. Okay. So you guys were classmates in bachelor's.
Yeah.
yeah, we were classmates in bachelor's.
Oh, okay, awesome. We have Vishnu Priya also joining us. Hi Vishnu Priya, can you hear me?
Hi, sorry. Yes,
No
I'm
problem.
just recovering from a fever, so just ignore if my voice breaks or anything of that. Sorry.
Oh, okay, sure, no problem. I was just doing the introduction, so I'll just continue along with that. Okay,
Okay.
so I think we can have Kokila right now. Can have an introduction from
Yes.
you. Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. Yes. My name is Kokila. I'm a bachelor's. I did my bachelor's in Ramachandra Medical College as well, as the girl said, but I'm 2002 batch. So, oh my God, I feel old. It's like, wow, so long ago. Yeah. So I finished my bachelor's in 2006. And then right after, I moved to America. I did my master's in speech pathology at University of South Alabama. There's so many universities in America so that we could explore and go for. At that time, I think that was the time when everybody wanted to head out of India to go to study. So I was very excited to do the same. I wasn't sure what was going to happen later in life, but yeah, decided to go to America to do the masters. Yeah, finished it in 2 years, and that's when, yeah, real life uh, kicked in. Working as an SLP, getting all the responsibilities. At that time, I was very keen in working with adult population. I wanted to work with cognitive retraining. Once I finished my master's, I was more interested in that. So I joined a nursing home, which was a dementia unit. Yeah, I enjoyed my 3 years there working in a dementia unit. We used to see other, nursing homes as well, go to other nursing homes to see stroke patients and, other populations, geriatric population as well. But primarily it was cognitive retraining. And then suddenly life had a twist. So all of a sudden I got married. And at that time we were looking, and I didn't know I was going to move to Australia, and it all happened. Things worked. And I came to Australia in 2012. So since then, completely switched professionally as well into pediatrics.
Wow.
So but I enjoyed everything. That was the good thing about what I had in my head, because I enjoyed pediatric and all other population, but I guess interest drive us into different directions.
Yeah.
In the sense, that's why I took pediatric, and the opportunities were much better with pediatric setup in Australia. So I thought, okay, whatever comes in first, I didn't want to wait too long for something to start. So I just took that. It was a private clinic who offered me first, and it was very close to my house. So walkable to my house, I was lucky that too. So I worked there for a couple of years. Then I decided, compared to Australia is quite, I felt like that's my opinion. I felt that things were quite behind. So I thought, okay, I can take more challenges now in pediatric itself. What if I have to run my own clinic? I thought maybe that's a better scope to look at. And I was planning to have kids as well, and I didn't want to work full time at that time. So I thought, okay, you know what, I need to plan something. And that's when I took up like a contractor role where I could manage my time. So I took that up, and I was because I was doing my own schedule. I'm my own boss, so I was doing that, and that really helped. So I could plan my day accordingly. I'd keep my mornings busy, then have a break in the afternoon, then again afternoons busy, like that. That ran for another 2 years, and then learned the admin part of it, what certifications we need to do, all of that. And then I decided to have my own place set up. And since then, Therapy Bubbles, that's my company. I've been running that as a principal speech pathologist, and I've got a couple of girls who work for me. They are floaters. They come, go, sometimes they stay for 1 year, 2 years. But most of them are speech pathology assistants who are currently doing their bachelors or masters. They're still studying, and they can operate as an assistant. So I've got them working for me, and it's been since my first boy was born. I've got 3 boys. I'm a mom of 3 boys. So my oldest kid is now 8. So Therapy Bubbles is 8 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been, since then, I've been a pediatric therapist. But with pediatrics, it's been quite intense as well. Like I do a lot of disability. Autism has been through, a lot of children with autism and other disabilities. But so there's something called NDIS here in Australia that serves fund, it's a government fund basically for children with a diagnosis. So it depends on whatever diagnosis, they get funding through the government. And as therapists, we can do therapy and access those funds. Okay. Yeah. So literally, like all my caseload is almost 80% of them are NDIS funded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a brief. Thanks for the time.
Yes, definitely. So I think we'll come back and ask a few more questions later, but I think we'll have an introduction from Vishal.
Hi everyone. My name is Vishal. I am from Delhi. So my journey in speech therapy it was an accident, I would say. So I was studying to be an engineer. I was doing B.Tech in computer science earlier. So in 2007. 2 years down the line, I realized that everybody in engineering, I was like, this is something I really don't want to pursue now. Like, I cannot be an engineer forever. So somebody in the family has been an OT forever. So they said that you wasted 2 years. Why don't you do this course? So then I joined a diploma in hearing, language, and speech as a diploma. Started working right after because like I had to support family as well at the same time. But later also the realization happened that you need to like really upgrade yourself and do something else over the top of DHLS. Just can't be everything. So then I've done my BSLP from Magad University after working like 3-4 years, and I completed that in 2018. So I've been working since then. I was placed in Delhi. I have my own, me and my brother. My brother is also a speech therapist. We run like 3 clinics back there in Delhi. My last experience has been with mostly young adults with intellectual disabilities. And I worked with a huge organization called Evaluate Solutions in Gurgaon. We mainly work with open employment. So basically independent living skills, life skills, and soft skills. We cater to that need. And recently moved to Australia as a speech therapist. Yes, in April. So yeah, that has been my pretty good journey. So it's been like 11 plus years in the field now. So yeah, that's about me. Thank you.
Nice.
Nice.
Good that you
That's
shifted
yeah.
to speech.
From engineering
Yeah,
to speech.
I love
Yeah.
that because I didn't want to do something which was so usual in common. Like I was
Yeah,
like, okay, just
that's a
change
good
something.
shift.
Okay.
Good call.
Yeah.
You know, we're so
I can
lucky.
say now. I can say that now. You go to 2007 and ask my dad. 9 actually. So
Yeah.
he'll tell you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you,
Okay,
Manasa.
then yes, definitely. And we'll have an introduction from Vishnu Priya.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to meet you. Lots of new names. So I'm really looking forward to catch up with you after this. So my name is Vishnu Priya. I did my bachelor's and master's from Aish, Mysore. I graduated in 2017. Then I worked at Aish for a year, both in adults and pediatric department. And then in 2019, I moved to Australia. And then from here, I did a certification in clinical neuroscience research from Melbourne University. And since then, I've been working in the research space since 2020. So I work for a project called Magnet, which is Monash Autism, ADHD, Genetics and Neurodevelopment. It looks at the overlap of autism and ADHD in terms of cognitive, in terms of genetic, and in terms of language skills. So that's one of the projects that I do. I recently started up another role as a researcher for a project that looks at minimally verbal children. And this project is currently in its design phase. And the aim of this project is to deep phenotype children who are minimally verbal or complex communication needs, which is a more common term used in our field, and then try and match precision intervention or tailored intervention for these kind of children, regardless of their diagnosis. So that's the other project that I'm involved in. Yeah, that's just really quick
That's really interesting.
summary about me. A little bit deviant from the clinical practice. I'm still doing my documentation for registration with the Speech Pathology Australia. But in the meantime, I'm just focusing on research at the moment. PhD was my major plan, but then I'm still sticking with the project and doing publications from the project right now.
Okay, that's nice. It's nice that we have students, clinical practitioners, as well as researchers here, so we can get a wide information from here. So I think we'll start off with masters so that we can know a little bit more about how any student from India who wants to study abroad, so study in Australia, would go about it. So I understand that in Australia, you can do a master's right after bachelor's from India. So I think we can have Priya Shree talk about this. So just let me, I'll just ask you a question regarding if someone decides to pursue their master's in Australia, what's the first step they should do?
So personally, I started by filtering the universities in the first place. So I just went through and I saw, initially I started with filtering the countries. So when I had a plan on doing masters in abroad, my first option was Australia, US and UK. Personally, the reason why I chose Australia and filtered the other countries was like the other countries had predominantly 1 or 1.5 year course, not a 2 year professional degree. So if you're planning on doing a master's in US or UK, if you just do it for that 1 year, you are pretty much qualified enough to work in there, but you wouldn't be certified a master student after you complete the degree based on what I researched. But it's all based on my research and stuff. So with Australia, it's a 2 year professional degree. So your degree will be valid even when you come back or go to any other country. So I chose Australia in that way. After deciding on Australia, I just went on filtering the universities, trying to connect my seniors or whoever is doing their masters in Australia. So I just got insights from them and I filtered like 10 universities and they just filtered 5 more from that and they just gave me like 5 other universities. And further, I joined IDP. So IDP was the organization. They helped me in the application process and what are my prerequisites and requirements and stuff. So I applied for 5 different universities in Australia.
Okay.
And I got an offer letter from all the 5. And after that, it was based on the requirements, I just filtered the university. The reason why I chose University of Canberra was it's in the regional place. So it will be an advantage for me since it's a capital city. It's an advantage of doing it in here. And also, I really like their program. They had research. We have a project. Not all the universities which I applied had a project with their masters. So I'm interested in the project. So I chose that university. Yeah, it's pretty much going well. So
Okay.
after my filtering of universities, the other thing which I had to do was the English requirement. That was something which was common. So yeah, that's how I initiated my process.
I have one question. You mentioned something about IDP, no? I didn't. What is that?
So IDP is nothing but an organization which helps with applications and stuff for abroad.
Okay. It's like
Yeah.
an agency or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right.
It also conducts all the IELTS exams and all that all over the world.
Yeah,
Oh,
IDP.
IDP,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I
They
think it's
recently tied up with IELTS and started conducting exams.
Yeah.
They're
Now,
basically a
there's been like,
counseling service for
okay.
Indian students to go abroad.
Oh,
like
okay.
earlier there was a website called hotcoursesabroad.com. It's like in the competition of that itself. So
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So, not
Yeah.
bad, because when I speak about agencies to other, in the US and all, they said there's no agency which could help them out because SLP was a course which they'd not heard of. But it's good that IDP is able to help you out also, right?
It's completely free when it comes to Australia. For other countries, if you want to apply, they charge you the application fees and counseling fees as well. But for most of the places, they don't. For Australia, they didn't charge me anything. So they will also provide you with suggestions on what all the universities you can go for. They will give you connections from the universities which you're
Okay.
preferring to as well. So they will be really helpful. If you have any specific options, they will be happy to help with that as well.
Well, that's very interesting. So a student could probably start looking at IDP if they want to apply for master's.
Yes,
Oh,
even
yeah.
without
Yeah.
any basic knowledge of anything at all, if they just contact IDP, it's really easy to find them as well. If you just Google IDP, it will just show you the nearest IDP counselor near your place. So by contacting them via a Zoom call or a normal call, you can just try getting contact with them. They'll assign you with a specific counselor who will be following up with you.
Okay, that's nice.
See, that's the good thing about Australia. Australia is in great relationship with Indian, organizations. I think that's how they've established this IDP to help bring more students into here. So this has been there since even my age. Since then, IDP has been. I think now it's getting more popular. That this is like an easy access gate. For first, getting all the information. For America, you don't have anything like that. So we do so much more research when we have to get into American universities. Yeah.
But right now, I think the IDP provides services for America as well.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah, they provide services to everywhere. It's not only Australia, to UK, to America. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
It is worldwide now. Like it's really
Worldwide,
big. IDP is really it's big.
Oh, that's nice. That's
It's
something
very
that
good. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. My next question is to Mansa. Can you tell me how did you choose your university? Same thing as Priya Shree. And how long ago did you start planning for masters?
Well, I was pretty early into the process. I started researching from like second semester, but then
bachelor's?
yeah, from
Oh,
bachelor's.
okay.
I mean, like I was looking at different universities. I don't know. I pretty much did not find seniors enough to guide me through the whole process. I don't know. It's like you're left into an open field and have to research. But then from initially, I was into UK, and then I saw certain universities in US. But my whole negative point with US was one. I don't know. Personally, I'm not in favor of that country. I don't like the place. No offense, ma'am. But then but then fees also was very
I'm in
high
Australia now. I don't know.
Yeah, you're
yeah
not Australian.
uh, fees also was very high when in US. Like what I pay here for the whole masters, I'll have to pay for 1 year in US. So I found that pretty high. And and then I started with UK, and then I went to UK. And then what happened with UK was I heard that I don't I it might be a better place, but then I heard some information saying that work options are not pretty much available. It's very much good. It's very good for us audiologists, but not speech. And then I did find one or two good universities. I did find people who are doing. And then I slowly moved to Australia. And when I started researching, I found the Speech Pathology Australia website. If nowadays if juniors ask me, I'll just like refer to Speech Pathology Australia. Because there they have a good table of good information about what universities in Australia provide the course and their accreditation, and if they provide bachelors or masters, and I think they even have individual links to the university website on that page. So yeah, so that website really helped me. And from there I started searching, and then and then I mean I did not go with IDP. I went with someone who I knew personally. It's called SIG from Hyderabad, and I mean I knew them as a family, via family. So I went with someone personal, so it would be more helpful. And what happened there was I applied to Flinders, and then I tried my main aim was to get into University of Technology. Curtin was never my first option. And but then I went did an interview with UTS, but I didn't get through UTS as well. And then I tried Flinders. I got into Flinders, but then Flinders somehow gave me my conditional offer, but then later rejected my application. So I mean, it was a big mayhem when I was applying for uni. I think it's always like that. So yeah, and then finally last minute I applied to Curtin. I got into Curtin, and I was like, okay, fine, I'm not going to go back. Just let's go with what we've got. Yeah. And then, but my main worry was that when I looked at the accreditation status, Curtin was on I think it was on conditional status. So they have like provisional, conditional status, full accreditation status for universities in Australia. Yeah. So, yeah. So in India, we have the governing body is RCI, but here we have Speech Pathology Australia. They are like the governing body. They give you your licenses and all. So like they also do accreditation. When I saw it was on conditional status, I was very worried. So I started like searching for people who were studying at Curtin or were alma maters of Curtin. And then I started speaking to them. I mean, I don't know why they have conditional status on the university. It is actually very good. Yeah, that's how I got into Curtin.
Okay. So usually if somebody is applying, you would suggest that they go to that Speech Pathology Australia website and see the accreditation status.
Yeah, they have full information on how to become a speech pathologist in Australia. That's the title of the page. Yeah.
See, from my experience, because I'm dealing with a lot of students here, if they have a bachelor's degree in India, see, I've heard so many girls even getting married and moving to Australia, and then they want to work here. That's a complex process, because a bachelor degree from India will not let a person to work here without doing further study or certifications. So I think they need to go through prerequisites, and through speech pathology they'll be able to submit a lot of documentation about their clinical experiences, and then they may need to do higher studies to be able to even operate. Otherwise they can only qualify as an assistant, can't be a full therapist. So that has been quite hard to explain. If they come for masters, then of course they'll eventually get qualified. But then if they are only with a bachelor's degree who want to come here, settle, but they want to start working, it's quite a little complicated. Yeah.
Okay, I think Vishal. Vishal.
I am full in heart with this.
From what I just mentioned.
Yeah. I am full in heart with what Kokila said. I'm going through this process like every day. So even though recently they have changed some norms even on websites, that earlier it used to be just like 8 bands for IELTS start, 8.5.
Wow.
Like, and an average, and an average you need 8.5 bands for IELTS to even start the process to be a certified, like SPA certified speech therapist in Australia.
Therapist, yes.
So I am at the IELTS right now. So, so I don't even know what is waiting for me ahead. So I'm not
God, there's a lot. I know that. clinically, you need to prove that with all your qualifications.
Oh my God, it's
see, one of my 1 year senior who wanted to move, he worked in Dubai, I think one of the Middle Eastern countries. He worked there. So that's many, many years of experience, meaning my senior. I feel senior already, you know, but so he wanted to come here and he sent me assessment details that like he had to elaborate on a particular client with video recordings and
So all this is for
documentations. I would just get into some master's degree if I have to do
Manasa,
that.
yeah. When we talk about this work thingy,
Yeah,
I was like thinking what all I can tell, and then I realized no, I cannot even tell you everything. I'll just tell you website, like how Mansa was a student,
Yes.
already shared that you know there's a website for it. This is, and whatever the information there, it's even at times it's so complicated to even understand that exactly what they're asking. You don't even know, like you don't know what they're asking, right? So it gets
See,
very, very difficult.
This senior person, he asked me for my assessment. I said, you know, the assessments that we do clinically here is totally different to what universities or speech pathology Australia is asking for. They want like literal, statistically, documented assessment for a client, which is. We can only follow like as the moment it becomes a private practice, it becomes our individual style. I have my own pattern of my assessments, and I'll give whatever documents I need to give, details I need to give for the assessments, but I don't need to do it university style, not a 4-page. It's a 2-page, if possible, very, very short and detailed. Yeah, that's how it's.
I've heard of stories like one of my seniors. She was she's from South Africa. She came here, because she got married to someone here. But what happened was, she saw the whole process. She thought she might as well do masters,
Yes,
and
that's
but then
idea.
she has around like 15 years of experience working back in South Africa. But then she was like, I have no choice. I'll just do masters and
That's a
get
better
in.
choice, actually.
Yeah.
From what I'm seeing.
Mansa has asked me a question at the end, and like, and I'm like, I'm not going to answer it right now, but I'm going to tell when Mansa actually asked that question. You cut this whole video, whatever I'm saying right now. But whatever everybody is talking right now, I am in so much of agreement with this. Believe me, like really. I have a mentor from New Zealand who's a speechy, like she's our supervisor, but she's not here. She's from New Zealand. So like she gets tired, answering our questions. And at the end, she's just like, I don't know what these people are doing. Australia doesn't have speech therapists, and these people are just making it harder every day. I don't know why.
Yes.
It's just like,
and I have to warn. There's a warning thing actually, because I know one of the girls that I know here. She came to work here. It was quite interesting. See, the visas go in line with our professional abilities, what we are able to do in this country. So, of course, to be a speech pathologist, we need certification. To get a certification, go through Speech Pathology Australia. So, of course, their requirements, again, being a bachelor's degree from India, we cannot work in Australia straight away. We have to go through Speech Pathology Australia to get certified. So that's a process. Until then, a person can only be an assistant here in this country. Yeah, speech pathology assistant means they cannot sign any documents. They are able to get the goals from a senior therapist, like a principal certified therapist. They have to follow the goals and operate the clinic. Only can do therapy. They cannot do assessments. They cannot, even if they are able to do the assessment, it has to be in the presence of the therapist, and they cannot sign any document. All the documents will be signed by a certified therapist. So their signature is only as a daily note document they can sign. That's all they can do. Yeah. And so I know this girl who came, and she she has a bachelor's degree. She worked in many countries, Asian countries though. And she wanted to come to Australia. She got the visa as a work visa to work here. But she cannot actually be a certified therapist. This company had offered her to to come in as a therapist. I think they are giving her some time to work with them, and that way they can document that, whatever speech pathologist is asking for with the video recording, so they can prove that she can be certified. I think that's the deal between the company and this individual. So there are companies that will tell you to do that, and they'll give you a very, very base salary. Base means like very, very low salary, along with your commitment, like much more than a full-time job. Like this girl lives in that clinic, like since 8 to 8, morning 8 to 8, she lives there. And unfortunately, she won't be able to get certified without the help of the company. And if she had any, issues in future, then the company could say, no, I can't give you, and she'll be in big trouble if that happens. And I think there has been an incident that this girl has returned back, has gone back with no opportunity. So see, when I hear this, that really saddens me, because I feel like, people can be, falling into traps to come to Australia this way. I think the best way to come here is to study.
Do master.
Is to
I
study.
think Vishnu Priya wanted to add something. Yes.
Yep. So I just wanted to say that I've been in this process of getting registered with Speech Pathology Australia. I've been fighting with the system. We have teamed up with a group, and Philippa, who is an occupational therapist, is the spokesperson for all of us, including SLPs from South Africa. So the reason why the IELTS ban recently changed is because of the fight that we've been doing.
Oh, wow.
And it's Philippa who spoke to us, who spoke to the people, and then tried to just adjust the scores, because OET scores, a score of A for everything, is very, very unrealistic. And to put that across to them, it was like a huge process. So yeah, in the background, there is like a lot of fight going on with the system, just so that they change some of their requirements for speech pathologists from countries that they don't recognize under mutual recognition agreement. So when we do the Speech Pathology Australia registration, it's through 2 channels. One is through countries that have mutual recognition agreement, or the MRA, and the other one is non-mutual recognition agreement. Another update that happened after this group and fight with the system thing is that speech pathologists who are in Australia, they can work independently, but they cannot look at NDIS clients or any of the government-funded clients. If they're ready to pay out of pocket, we can still do the assessment, we can still do therapy, but it shouldn't come out of any government project. So it's a recent update. So
that's a recent update. Yeah, good to know.
Yeah, it's a very recent update.
If I hire somebody from India who has done a bachelor's, then I can actually have them to operate only for non-NDIS. Yeah. Okay.
NDIS. Yeah, they'll have to pay out of pocket. It has a lot of caveats though, which is the reason why I haven't started clinical practice yet, and I'm still sticking with the research to protect my mental health. It has lots of caveats, but they do allow that right now, and that's like very, very recent advancement.
Still,
there is
just
one more.
minimal.
Yeah. Sorry.
Kokila.
Please continue. No, please.
Yeah, it's very minimal that it's pocket. They pay out of pocket. It's only like 20% of the whole clinical population.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there was another update recently. I don't know if Vishnu Priya knows, or if I know that it's true, because it has been applied in my clinic as well. That if there's an NDIS client in front of you and you're taking session, and you are not a registered SPA member, like a therapist, but you are under supervision, number one. Second, you are in the process of applying, because they do ask for documentation. So if you're not a SPA registered speech therapist and you still get to see an NDIS clinic under the supervision of a SPA registered member, you cannot charge the actual the charge of the session charges, which NDIS has published earlier.
Yeah,
it has gone down to like 50%. So if there's like $180 per session, now it's 200, like 100. It's 100. Yeah, well, it's 100 for the for the person who's not a SPA registered member but under supervision, but in the process to get SPA. So you cannot charge full session charges if an uncertified speech therapist is taking a session. That also recently came, and the cost cutting was also applied to all the clinics recently.
Yeah,
So
that's
basically
really
they mean,
interesting.
sorry, yeah, I think basically they're trying to say is if they are uncertified, they can only do the capacity of an assistant. So that's
Exactly.
the rate. What you're saying is the assistant rate, which is
Exactly.
85 or something. I think it's around 85 or 90-ish for the
89 something.
to operate. Yeah, it's too complex. Too complex. And I feel so sad for, you know, so sad for that. That's, I mean, because you're in that situation, I feel so sad for you, you know, because it's a process. I hope you get through the certification soon. But nobody has achieved that yet. I have never heard anybody has achieved that, you know, getting certified from what you're going through.
I actually know
okay.
one person.
I have.
That person is like my motivator. Like, she went through the non-mutual recognition agreement process, and she got through.
She got it? Oh, good. There is somebody like that. I've never heard so far.
One person.
One person is there. Okay, good. Good to know.
Have you heard of anybody, Vishal, like that?
Yeah, 2 people. Yeah, recently one more person have got it. But I mean, she's not from India. She's from Philippines. But again, I mean, not from. She's not under MRA, and she hasn't studied in Australia. So I would say she's from India. Who cares? It's the same thing, right?
Okay, good.
So, but
hope.
yeah, but she has got
good
it.
Hope then. That's good, Vishal.
Yeah.
Amazing.
No, actually, that's again, it's my personal opinion. Again, this context which I'm going to share was like meant for like further session today. But it also, I think it is also our education system as well somewhere, because in India we have like 780 languages going on. Here there are assessment tools and everything else are like very much uniformed on one level. In India, if let's be very realistic, in India there's not one speech and language therapy and pathology, one uniform assessment tool. Do we know any? No, we are dependent on checklists, number one. Second, on our experiences. There's nothing. When you come here, you see, oh, there's self 3, 5, there's PLS, there's RAF, there's so much. There's so much to learn, there's so much to see, and you actually understand that. Then it makes sense also that these people, whatever instructions and you know the conditions they're putting in, they're not adjusting, they're not going to compromise with their healthcare system at all, which some extent I feel not a bad thing. They have to maintain that. Like, there's nothing wrong.
That's right. Absolutely.
So I think the whole process it's not hard for us. It's just that they're safeguarding their own healthcare system, and I think it's okay. And if you're not eligible for that,
and if you're
you
understanding that,
better study. Yeah, better study and just do it. Yeah.
I still do feel that their process are a little bit unrealistic when it comes to portfolio thing. It is like heavily unrealistic.
It's huge.
I genuinely don't like the bias between MRA and non-MRA countries, because there has been a lot of prejudgmental or preconceived notion that Indians do not speak good English. There's a lot of issue going on with accent. So there is that kind of judgment happening, and they're only trying to change their process right now. So I do feel that while they're trying to safeguard their quality, somewhere there's also this preconceived notion that people from India particularly are not skilled enough or qualified enough to be in Australia practicing. So I have got that from talking to multiple people over there.
Totally, but I feel
all had similar experience.
It's a wide range. It's a wide range of students or individuals who come here. Somebody who know English well, somebody who don't know English well. We don't know, you know. So IELTS decides that what the capacity is, and also say no. I came from America, and the amount of certifications and the tests and you know that I went through was traumatic in America as well. You know, so the praxis exam, have you heard of the praxis in America? That is like the hill to get through. Masters was nothing. Masters was easy breeze. I mean, that was hard, but I was able to tolerate the you know the necessity. But praxis was something that if we can pass praxis, we can operate anywhere in the world, because that is like 120 questions in 60 minutes for a person who's a non-English speaker, basically, you know, and from a country who's like India. that was complex. So I guess that's what they're looking for. They're looking for, if they're recognized, means that they've passed something like that, so they don't need any further, assessments. I felt fair at that time, but I do understand that from what you're saying, so capacity can be judged a bit more reasonably. I think from what you're going through, it's quite complicated, and IELTS 8.5 is too unreasonable. Yeah.
I think I would like to discuss a little bit more about this, because I think we'll come back to masters later, now that we're deep in this discussion. So can Vishal or Vishnu Priya tell me a little bit more about what exactly? So first thing is, anybody who's done bachelor's and wants to work in Australia has to go through this process, right? Through the Speech Pathology Association, so that they get certified. Does this apply to even a master's student from India, somebody who's done masters in SLP in India? Yes.
Yes.
If you want to work in Australia, you have to get this certification. So
yeah, that's the first step. Yeah.
Okay. So you were telling me about portfolio assessment. Just give me a brief about this so that people know what it is.
Okay. So if you're like a bachelor's from India, it's based on the organization first, I guess. Somewhere they want you to at least be working at least for 2 to 3 years. That's minimum requirements, because they want you to be like brushed up, on your skills in the field. So if you are a bachelor's plus 2 to 3 years of experience in India, they can give you an offer of a job. And there are some visa processes which I'm still in the process to find out how it happens, because some of the organization can also talk to the immigration and SPA as well, that 2 years, that guy and the person, whoever the candidate is, would work here with us. And in those 2 years, they would acquire SPA registration.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to right away, the moment you land in the country, you don't have to get SPA right away.
Okay.
So my visa is like for 4 years. It's valid till 2027. And in my contract also, it's written that I can get my SPA in 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I can get it done by 25. And after 25, I'll be having a Medicare number, I'll be a SPA registered member. And then the rest of the 2 years, I'll be working as a speech and language pathologist per se, like that. So if you're a bachelor's plus 2-3 years of experience from India, you can get an offer from Australia easily. And then after you come here, and if your contract says that you can work initially, there's a process of getting into SPA. So first is, as we've been talking about IELTS, SPA also asks for like 1,000 working hours proof with you, like in those 2-3 years. But we are from India. We finished 1,000 hours in like 6 months, because we work a lot. Yeah, that is there. Also, there's a fee application fee as well included in that, which is like $1,400 something. I guess that's what the price is. Yeah. And then portfolio. I'm unable to explain the whole portfolio thing here totally, but there are like 5 big aspects of it, like speech, language, voice, swallowing, and like that. There are 5 categories. In that, there's child and adult, child and adult, child and adult. So 10 basically categories it has become. Okay. And in those 10 categories, you have 9 kind of modules you have to provide proofs for. And all of that has to be evidence-based. Okay. And that's where I'm not saying sorry, Vishnu Priya, you were saying.
I just wanted to add on to what Vishal said. They also ask for dysphagia qualifications and certifications as well. So if you are not able to provide them with video, sorry, my cat is just making noise. If you're not able to provide them video evidence of your qualifications and dysphagia, they recommend taking a course from the New Zealand University in dysphagia. So that's, again, another one of their prime requirements, apart from English language requirements, 1,000 working hours. And along with the IELTS thing, the IELTS was recently added on. Originally, they wanted scores in occupational English test, which is the OET. So it's either IELTS or OET that they require.
Okay. And when you talk about these modules, can you just elaborate a little bit more about that? You were talking about dysphagia, child, adult, everything.
Oh no, there's a list of categories. I would say you have to provide evidence-based assessments, then therapy plans, then your outcome of it. What is the diagnosis, and then you have to actually show the papers of it. Like they don't ask you the details of the clients as well. Like you can just write ABC and XYZ, but it has to be like that you have done it. Like there has to be a proof that you have used an evidence-based technique or therapy area to assess that thing and then present it.
What did you
Yeah.
have in used?
Sorry, Manasa.
Sorry, what
There's a
did you say, Manasa?
document there's a document called CBOS in the Speech Pathology Australia website.
Yeah.
It's competency-based occupation
Yes.
standards.
Okay.
So all
Yeah.
of the assessment reports and the evidence that we provide in the portfolio should go with the CBOS standards. That's like an unspoken rule. So basically, all of your reports should have that evidence and reasoning on why you chose that goal or the rationale behind going it. So a little bit more further than the usual clinical reports that we make. So we can't essentially just take our therapy plans that we used in India and submit it, because it would straight up be rejected. But you have to
Yeah.
justify the evidence and the rationale and the reasoning, and you have to do this for all of the evidence that you submit. It's not just for one evidence.
Oh my
For
God.
adult, for childhood, and the 5 different categories that they have. So you have to go into that level of detailing, which sounds really straightforward, but it's not, because they don't have a sample or anything. It's something that we have to create from our brain work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
And,
is the
and that's
reason
what
why
we did in masters. That's exactly what we do in masters. Any Western country, that's exactly what we do for the 2 years in masters in any Western country, Australia or America. We'd learn that. Yeah. So that they're basically making you do masters without a masters.
my supervisor, who's a professor in one of the reputed universities, so she went through the procedures for us versus the procedures for a student who's enrolled in the masters. She did say that it's a little bit different. It's not as detailed in the masters compared to what is for us. The level of detailing is even more for us. So I believe me when I like the past 2 years, there's a reason why I submitted my application, because I've been talking to people, I've been looking at the portfolio, I've been fighting with the system, talking to a lot of people, formulating a group so that we can fight this together. So there is a lot going on in that space, because in papers, it's a different thing, but in reality, for you to get it successful, for you to get the application successful, it's a lot more work that needs to be poured onto it. Yeah, because even the master students have to do the SIBO stuff and the clinical stuff and documentation, but the non-mutual recognition agreement procedure for speech pathologists qualified overseas, it's even more detailed than that.
Okay. Yeah.
So you have to get all of this ready and apply for it, and getting it ready itself would take you a year or so, right? Or longer.
It does. It does. That's why I've got like an extension. Not, I wouldn't say extension, because that was just like the straight away 2 years. So yeah, and one like recently I've heard one of my, like, obviously the therapist, the clinician has left, but before I joined in, I've heard that he collected, and I'm not exaggerating, that's what I've heard from the other clinician, he has collected the paper trail of 4.5 kgs to present to SPA, literally, and he still did not get it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there were questions asked, there were more evidence asked and everything else, and you have to like record your videos, record your assessment videos, maybe therapy session videos and everything else. And this they do judge you like literally on like another level of therapies, like your sitting plan, how are you sitting, how are you talking, how you're handling it, like a meltdown if it happens, anything. It can be like, obviously you present what you feel that is convenient and good, but then they have their own parameters to like judge you over that.
And it's traumatic through that. That's intense. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly how it was during my master's in America. Absolutely, you know, from what you're saying, all that clinically we were viewed from a room, and everything was just, you know, changed. You know, even I had to go through accent reduction to be able to give the amount of therapy that they want. The accent has to be right. I was in Alabama. Of course, the accent was so different coming from Indian country. So I had to change everything, you know, change lifestyle, literally, even lifestyle changes. I went through therapy for accent reduction, like I said, from a PhD student to be able to qualify. So I guess it is complex, you know, to go through what you're going through is the the last thing I would suggest to somebody. Give them other options. So if they need to know, heads up from there, people coming from India need to know that they have to go through so much if they choose to live in Australia. Especially girls who want to get married and come here, they think Australia, wow, nice, and then and then if they have to, then unfortunately there are not only speech pathologists, dentists, doctors, so many of them who come to Australia who end up not even being into this professional. Like my sister-in-law, she's a dentist. She's going to write her exams next week, so she's already qualified. Has been she's had a 3 years experience, but could not. She still has to go through all the process, and it's not easy.
Okay.
Yeah, even after you submit your portfolio, the first step is not registered speech pathologist status that you get. It's the eligibility to be a registered speech pathologist. And then they give another 1 year or 2 years time for you to become a registered, certified, the CPSP status, that is the certified
CPSP,
practicing speech pathologist.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I
you're
feel
applying
that
for the eligibility first.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then after the eligibility, like, do you have to do something to get that, or like?
It kind of depends on what the feedback that you get. So once you submit your portfolio and they find that these are the areas that you're lacking expertise, but you're still eligible, they give you the eligibility status, and that's like a good status. You can still work as private independent speech pathologist, but in that time frame, you'll have to get supervised work,
mentored.
And then you can apply for the CPSP status. So that's how this entire procedure works. It's not direct, it's not straightforward. And even after you submit the application, there are like different levels of things that you'll have to do.
So there's no exam or such, it's the portfolio and the
The portfolio, the evidence and the portfolio.
Okay.
Hey, Manasa, I might have to go, actually. Sorry.
No,
is that okay? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I think this is the main important part. We'll
This
talk
is the
about
main
masters
important one.
and
Yeah.
this after this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No worries. Thank you so much. So lovely to meet you all. I'm so sorry I have to leave. It's weekend with the kids. It's quite complicated. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you so much. Yeah. Lovely to meet you guys. I hope to discuss more. Thank you so much. Yeah. Lovely to meet you, Vishal, Vishnu Priya, all the other girls as well. Yeah. Thank you. Pleasure. See you. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.
Bye.
Yes. So, yeah, I don't know if there's anything else you want to discuss regarding the portfolio or the. Oh, also I had a question. So in the US, like CCC, SLP, and they qualify after writing praxis. So you were talking about you said some letters here.
CPSP, certified practicing speech pathologist. Yeah.
Okay. So that would be after you clear this portfolio thingy.
Yeah, so CPSP
after
is
the
like
year submitting,
the independent speech pathologist kind of status. It's just like the RCI registered Indian speech pathologist who has full rights to practice. Something like that.
Okay, all right. Okay, and so during the part where you're still not yet certified, you would be working as an SLPA, right? Assistant or something. So then does your salary also change?
I'm working as an SLP as such, because I'm in research. My designation is research officer / speech pathologist. I have a supervisor who's a senior speech pathologist in my research. But I think the recent updates do say that you can work as independent speech pathologist, provided you're not taking fundings from NDI or the government funded thing. So that's what I am aware of. I'm not aware of the other stuff. So Vishal may be able to add on to it.
Yeah. So I think you do work as a SLP because there's a process once you come in the country, and it becomes an employer's task and the job to make sure that you get your SPA. So you can work as a SLP, but with supervision all the time. There has to be a senior speech and language pathologist, as Vishnu Priya mentioned. There has to be a supervisor all the time. You get a weekly supervision. You discuss your cases. If anything comes up, you talk to them. And every report you write that goes through them, it doesn't go to the parents or to NDIS directly. It goes to the supervisor. They review it. If there are any changes and all that, they make it and then they send it. So I think if you're on a working visa sponsored by a company, I think you can work as an SLP because, as I said, the company makes sure that you get your SPA and you're into the process to get SPA. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. So do we have anything else to discuss here regarding this certification and all that?
It's just that it's a very complex procedure, but Speech Pathology Australia website has the wealth of information that you need. It might it's just that a person who's going through the process should just know right from the beginning that it's not an easy process. It's very, very difficult, and it might mess up with your mental health a lot, like it did with me.
Yeah.
So, which is the reason why I'm just stepping away from it a little bit, so that I can just get the enough mental energy to work on it again. So it's just about having that awareness. Once you're aware that it is going to be a little bit tricky, then I think the process would be a lot more easier. Because when I did it, I didn't know a lot of people who was going through this procedure, and it shocked me at different levels, the kind of things that they wanted. And I didn't want to submit an application without perfecting my portfolio. So just be aware that it's not as easy as it's on the paper. There are a lot of caveats going through the process, but there are people who've been successful as well. So there is light at the end of the tunnel, but it's just that the journey is going to be incredibly difficult. I just want whoever is watching this, whoever is planning to apply for this, just be prepared for it. Then it'll be a lot more easy for you to handle.
Yeah, that's true.
Please be mentally ready for the struggle, uphill battle. Yeah. Okay. So I think I'll just come back to masters and finish off a little bit of more discussion regarding that. So my question will be back to Manasa and Priya Shree. I wanted to know how, so you're studying in a university, does it have an attached hospital, or how do you get to see patients? Manasa can answer.
Yeah, okay. So like Curtin University, they have a stuttering and dysphagia clinic. I mean, just that alone. But otherwise, we do get placed throughout. I mean, I live in Perth, so throughout Perth, and the placements are actually very good. We get placed in like like the government hospitals. We get placed in like private clinics, and you get to choose. It's like a draw system. Where, I mean, not draw system. I mean, it's like a poll system, like, placements open up and then we get to choose accordingly where we want to go. And yeah, clients wise, it is pretty good here. I mean, university does not logically have an attached hospital as such, but it has a clinic just for only for like stuttering and dysphagia, but for the other disorders and all, we have to go to throughout Perth. We get placed like I mean, like I went on placement and I had to go like travel 1 hour from here to get to that placement. That's how far they post us. So yeah, it's varied, it's throughout, and yeah.
So it's like you would have it on 2 days a week and the other 3 days of classes, or like it's just like continuously 1 month or something?
It's right now it is more of like for example, like last semester I had evidence-based practice as a unit. For that I was placed at a clinic only for 3 days.
Okay.
So initially it's 3 days and then it slowly goes on. And right now I don't have any placements going on. I start like from mid-semester and they have like these particular number of days that I have to go for placements. And even placements I've heard, I mean, like I keep listening to my seniors as well. I've heard that it gets keeps getting tougher as it goes. Like we like last semester I had criteria sheet where I had to pass certain criterias with my behavior at clinic. So I had a supervisor who was marking me as to how I was behaving, and I have to qualify each placement. And after that, well, I had a big document where I had to fill in and submit like so what were the evidence-based practice that was used in clinic for a particular patient, and what did you notice, how did you communicate, and it was a big document. But I've heard as it goes on, we have to submit transcripts of the whole sections as well when it comes to documentation for placements. I've heard of seniors telling that you have to a transcript of the therapy
The
session.
whole
Imagine.
session. Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, so we have to submit the whole transcript of the session as it goes on, and for
Okay.
it gets
Okay.
suffered as well.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's how it is. Yeah.
Alright.
Mhm.
My next question is regarding uh so you would you would be taking sessions on your own also, or is it you just observe
Under supervision.
under
I mean,
supervision?
like first year it is mostly observation, and it's slowly, and next semester, like the third and fourth semester, it's mostly under supervision.
Okay.
Vision. And one thing we need to remember is I don't know how it is with University of Canberra, but my course is a GEMS course, so graduate level entry masters,
Okay.
which means that anyone with any degree can do this
Oh,
masters.
it's not just SLP, huh? Okay.
No, yeah. So in my class, I have teachers who've had like worked for 50 years. I mean, like 40 years have come after
Okay.
so many years to do like speech pathology and all that. I think 50 years is an exaggeration. Yeah, but
Okay, huh?
I mean, a lot of years. I mean, and so in that, what they do is start from basics. In a way, it's helping me. Well, I get to start a but even basics, it's very. I had like a 1 month crash course before my first semester. So I came in December. So whole of January, I had 1 month, an intensive unit for, I think we pretty much learned everything that we learned in like first year in that 1 month.
Okay. Oh wow.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Is
uh,
even
yeah. So in that way, so we do that, and then they immediately go to therapy techniques and assessment procedures in first semester.
all right.
So yeah, my other classmates are like, you must find it easy. You have done bachelor's already. You know the whole thing. I'm like, no,
It's not like
it's
that.
not. Even I find it difficult. Yeah.
Even Priya Shree, is it like that for you? Other people in different courses from your master's?
Exactly. So most of the people they just have switched their profession, their whole profession income. To be honest, we only have like 5 people who are less than 30 years. So
Oh,
everyone are like 40 and 45. They just switched their whole career and they have just moved here. It's just most like that. So anyone with any background thing can come and do an master's in
okay.
speech pathology here. But the prerequisites as we students who come from India, we need to have a 4-year professional degree in order to get into the course of masters. So that
Okay.
was quite unlikely. But from any other country, it is just that you can do any bachelor's in any course and you can join masters
Okay.
in there. Yeah, so that was one. And University of Canberra does have an hospital with it. So most
Okay.
of our classes itself happens only in hospital. So how our semesters will be planned is our first week and the last week will be pretty intensive. Apart from that, the in between the 14 weeks will be like we only have 2 days of workshop and 2 days of lecture. So one day will be a complete off. The other
Okay.
2 days we'll have lectures, and Thursdays and Fridays we usually have our workshops. Um, Coming from India, in India, we used to have a clinic starting from the first year. So whatever we
Yeah.
learn in theory, we just go to clinics. We have an example of each and everything, how we have
Yeah.
to act, how we have to talk, all that. But here we can't expect that. They just theoretically explain you. And also, it was really hard for me. I mean, though I've done my bachelor's in India for 4 years, coming here and having a unit. So my first year, I had diversity in communication. So it's nothing but all the basics and fundamentals of speech pathology. That was that. So I just learned it like in over a year, but here I just had the whole lecture in just like 1 week. So I was like, even though I know the terminologies and stuff, it just because I know the terminologies and stuff, I was able to follow up. But people here, they're really very intuitive. Like they go and read back, they go and read textbooks, they go and search for papers. Everything here is based on evidence-based practice. So they just do so much of background work to catch up with the
Okay.
classes. Yeah, so that's really good. As of now, I had only 3 days of observational days. So
Okay.
they just asked, they're really flexible with observation. So based on the locality where you live, you can just say that. So I'm living in Balkanan. So if I just give my region, they'll be able to find me places and hospitals
Right.
within that region. So if someone is doing from Adelaide or anywhere, any other part of Australia, they're even flexible to give them and find placements within their region. So they need not travel much. Yeah, so the 3 different clinics which I went in a walk-in clinic, a private practice, and a government organization, which is a therapy-based clinic. So I had a different exposure of how it works, and all that. It was really good. Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. So you would say the teaching and all is nice in of Australia, like for masters over there, the teaching is good over there compared to India.
Teaching is
Yeah,
good.
it is really good.
You can
Well,
be
I personally find it really good.
okay.
One or two places they miss that orientation because it's gems, right? They kind of come with a little bit of an assumption that they know what the students are learning. But what happens is they miss a lot of and what I'm trying to say is they come with an assumption that the students already know what they're learning. Like explaining some therapy technique to me would be different to someone who's new to the whole
Okay, yeah,
process,
correct.
right?
It's more of
So
self-learning.
yeah, so yeah, a lot of we need to do a lot of homework before we go to
Homework and
class,
self-learning.
and it's not like I could just go in. The Indian education system is where you learn in class, but here you have to learn for class.
Yeah,
So
you have to
yeah,
prepare
There's
the
no
that's how it
spoon
is.
feeding which we
Teaching is
have
actually
in
good. I mean, they are
yeah.
good.
honestly, there's no spoon feeding. No one will force you to do this, do that. If you're not able to do, you can take a break. That will be their
Okay.
first option. You need not pressure yourself, you not stress yourself or something. It's just your call. If you want, you can do. There will be no spoon feeding. They'll just give you a lot of resources and stuff where you can go and do your learning, where you can come
Okay.
and go ask for doubts. But they really don't expect or ask you to do this, do that.
I
You don't
work
really
in
have
a
to.
university, so I can just give a little bit more on what happens in the back end, like not from a student perspective, but from a staff perspective. So the courses in Australia are like more structured compared to how it is in India. Even the speech pathology course is a lot more structured. Like it is organized and structured and scaffolded into tiny bits. And then, from a perspective of an educator, you're supposed to make materials and resources that the students can learn in their own time,
Okay.
because people do part-time job as well while they're studying. So it's not like how it's in India, like it's funded by our parents mostly, or like how we have classes and clinics every single day. It might not be the same scenario for students over here. So they're asked to prepare a wealth of reading materials and hand it over to the students, and then the remaining work is for the students. Like if you are doing the course, it's your responsibility to go and read up those materials, come prepared to class reading those prerequisite materials, and then ask questions over there, and then go back and refer to the notes there as well. So
Okay.
it is structured, it is self-learned, but it's also structured. So it's just that fine balance between
Between
everything. It's very hard. Student life is very hard as well,
okay.
because it's very different to how you're used in India for that matter, because especially being an international student, like there's a lot more that you have to do just to survive. Like you have to take up part-time jobs, and then you have to
Yeah.
make sure that you read through the materials and stuff. So it is a little bit tricky, but this is what happens in the back end from an educator's perspective. Like this is what they're asked to do.
Okay. Okay. So I wanted to ask, my next question is about that. So like, are student loans manageable, or is it best to take up a part-time job? Or can you tell me a little bit about, so first thing is, do you get a student loan approved easily if you get a master's in Australia? Mansa?
Yeah, well, I didn't go by the student loan. I mean, I went.
Okay.
I've paid upfront, not to, but I've heard student loans are pretty easy.
Okay.
I think Priya, she
Yeah,
pick up
yeah.
that question. Yeah.
No, apparently I'm self-funded as well, so I
Okay.
didn't know the process. But one of my friend who is doing her master's in audiology, she applied to loan, and it was approved within a decent time frame, like within a
Okay.
month or so. It was not so hard,
All
but
right.
yeah.
Okay, so then do you
But
have
work-wise, yeah. So paying back the loans, work is, I mean, you part-time jobs, right? When
yeah.
it comes to that, well, it's easy to get a job, but we should be able to find jobs that where we'll be able to manage coursework plus the job. I mean,
Okay.
some of the students that come here, when they do like management courses, they somehow manage with the whole thing. Healthcare is definitely different from other courses. So, like, I've noticed where people work extensive hours and still be able to get through the whole coursework part. But I don't think it's like that for us. We need to give our, like focus, put ourselves into, like doing the coursework with part-time. So I, personally, when it came to me, I mean, that's one of your question as well. So I'm working as a research assistant in university, which has been very advantageous for me because I could like work at home. And I mean, assistant jobs are available at university. I mean, research assistant. It's just that if there's someone who has an opening, then it's easy to get in. But if there's no one like who's having an opening for who needs a research assistant, then I don't think it's easy to get. But otherwise, the job is good. It's easy to get. I've also seen speech pathology assistant jobs for people who are currently doing masters as well. They have casual and part-time openings at places. Well, I was like browsing through options to see, and there are pretty much good openings. There are openings in public sector as well, like government jobs. But then I tried to get but then managing is very difficult. In a way, doing something in our field is easier to get through than just doing something else, because one, we'll be connected to the subject we'll be doing. Our brain will be around the whole subject, but then also it will be easy for us to manage the whole process. We can't work at hospitality jobs or do something that requires your physical physically work and then sit and study. It will be a little bit difficult.
Okay. I also wanted to ask if you're aware of any scholarships for masters, or have you applied to anything like that?
Actually,
Usually, I'm sorry. So usually for master's program with health courses, there are very limited number of scholarships, especially for speech pathology, as far as I have researched. My university does have a international student scholarship, which is 10%, irrespective of any course. Apart from that, for speech pathology, for any health professional courses, there is no big scholarships in my university.
Okay.
Yeah, but what I have is Commonwealth countries, like students who come from Commonwealth countries who do masters will get a 10% scholarship. So that was there in my university. You might minimally get around 10%. Otherwise, there are after you come here, I have seen websites. I mean, when I've explored the uni website, I've seen that after you come here, like from next semester, you can say that there are options if you are in difficulties financially. There are scholarships for that. You have to prove. And there was a grant from the government for master students who moved to Australia. They gave around $1,500 for accommodation and everything. So you just had to apply. But I didn't get it, but some of my friends did get money from that grant.
Okay.
So the grant that had that as well. Yeah.
There's also one clause which I have heard, and I'm not sure that it's true or not, that once you, like, as Manasa has shared, that once you come here and start studying, and if you start scoring pretty well, like, then also you can go up and apply for scholarships. Like, you know what, like, financially I'm not that sound and I'm doing pretty well, I'm really working very hard, and then you apply. There are some clause for some scholarships when you are going through your education and your courses. That's what I've heard recently, because I've been researching for my brother, so I've been also trying to like find out reasons. So
government also like funds you if you're doing academically very well. Academic performance is very good. I've seen one grant or something that provides you scholarship if you're doing well.
Okay. Could you also give me a number? Because I asked a question recently on Instagram, like, what are the questions you want me to ask? Most people are like, how much would it cost approximately to do masters in Australia? Is there a number you can give me, or any website which talks about this?
Actually, all of the university websites have given the fee for like, it's very easy. When a lot of my juniors come and ask me, and I'm like, I sometimes even like end up sharing them links. I'm like, just refer to that page, because each university, when you go to the course, under that it will be mentioned as to how much you need to pay for the first year or the first semester.
International students, under international students.
And you have for international students.
To apply for masters.
The fees is slightly different for citizens and PRs. Not too much for health courses like speech pathology, masters, but usually the fees is slightly different for citizens and PRs and international students. So just making sure that you go into the link for
Right.
International
because
student.
Yeah.
sometimes the gap can be huge, sometimes it might be very similar as well. So
maybe when
And I was going through recently because as I said, that I've been researching. As you asked about the number, Manasa, I think there's not even a fixed number actually. All the universities have such a different like fee structure.
Okay.
Here, University of Sydney charges $65,000 for 1 year,
Okay.
which is like the humongous over whole Australia, because I don't know, I mean, any other university also charges that, but that is 65,000. So it varies, I think, universities to universities. So I think there's no like fixed number, but yeah, if we talk about annually, it comes to be 40 to 50,000 annually, $50,000. That is like, I think a scale somewhere for the master's courses in speech pathology, as
That
much
is
as I am
just
aware.
tuition fees. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is just tuition fees. Yeah.
Tuition.
If Vishnu Priya might want to add something. So
Yeah.
that much I know. Yeah.
Starting usually in universities in Melbourne that I've worked with, it's mostly $40,000 Australian dollars is like the starting.
Okay.
That's around how mostly the pricing for the courses as well.
Okay, all right. I think that's most of the questions. So my next part was about the visa. Oh no, wait 1 second. All right. So for masters, before applying for masters, you have to qualify some exam, or like, is it just application process and interview or something?
Like different
Even
universities
before-
have.
Yeah, even before completing your course, you can apply for masters. They'll be able to provide you with a conditional offer stating that you have to complete your course and provide a professional certificate and have a English marks of this much in the based on the type of exam which you are right. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what happens with GEMS course, because it's for anyone who's doing master, I mean, anyone with any other degree, right? So what they would ask is for you to show like that you've done psychology, that you've done biology, and that you've done, I think I showed anatomy, physiology, and like psychology. If not, if like I have people who have done like BBA, like
Okay.
in management course, and then they're doing it. So they do a crash course before getting into the masters.
Okay.
They'll do an 8-month course with bio that has like anatomy, physiology, biology, the whole thing that we do in the first year before they get into the course. So they have a good amount of what we do. As I provided my scripts, like transcript, we have like those scripts that the uni gives us, right, for marks and all. I don't know the exact name. I mean, but then I
think.
yeah, transcripts like for each semester, like the units and all. So I provided like the whole first year and second year transcripts to uni to prove that I have already done so and so, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they asked
And
for
I did.
coursework actually. Yeah.
Yeah, they would ask us
coursework.
to share our syllabus and highlight the courses which they want as well. Even the units which we have learned in each subject, all that we have to provide the evidences.
For me, it was they asked for my degree certificate, and then they asked for anatomy, physiology, and psychology.
Okay.
So I also showed ENT
Depends
and all
on
that.
the okay.
Yeah.
Depends on university.
Yeah.
Are there
Different
a lot of
universities.
universities which provide masters in Australia?
No, actually, it's a handful.
It's very handful. Yeah.
It's a handful. It's just like I think 8 or 9. So yeah.
Okay.
But and a lot of universities are starting new. Like in Western Australia, right? There are only Curtin has masters in speech pathology, and there are other two other universities that do bachelors. But then now there's another university called Edith Cowan ECU that's like starting the course. So a lot of unis are starting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even in Canberra, University of Canberra is the only university which does masters.
Okay.
They pretty much have like
In
one
Sydney,
for
there
each state in Australia.
in Sydney there are 2, 3. Macquarie is
University of
there.
Technology,
University of Sydney is
Macquarie,
there.
and then
Western Sydney also
I
has,
think I
but in
can
a
name.
different.
I got in the questions. I think Maguire was one which people were asking about.
La Trobe also does courses.
La Trobe, yeah, La Trobe does. Latrobe
No, when I was
University
back there
was
in
like,
India, and sometime when I used to dream, obviously, to study abroad, and obviously Australia is the only place used to come to my mind. La Trobe is what I have researched for. That's how I remember that university.
It's
So, yeah.
quite reputable in speech
Yeah,
pathology
yeah,
field. University of
you're
Melbourne
right.
is ACU, Australian Catholic University. I'm not sure if they have a master's, but their bachelor's program is really good.
I've also
These are
heard
the
Macquarie's name a lot. Yeah,
Macquarie
Macquarie.
is.
I've
Macquarie
heard that a lot,
Yeah,
yeah.
But I
pretty much
think
a lot. Yeah.
Macquarie has, it's not a GEMS course or something like that. I've heard something different about it.
Oh,
Or
okay.
was it a 1 year course or something like that?
Flinders is quite popular as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried getting into Flinders.
And
Yeah.
my other question was, all these are private universities, or is it like government? I don't know if there's a difference like how we do have here. Like I is the government one, other colleges are private. Is there something like difference in that?
Yeah. But the students speak first, and then I'll just
Yeah, I
like,
mean, after you, only after you asked that question, I kind of went and researched. I found out that
Okay.
my university was state funded.
Okay. But does it
Yeah,
really make a difference, right?
No,
no.
Not
it's
at all.
just the accreditation that makes the difference.
Okay, all right.
most of the
But in my
universities,
case,
it's often partnered with these health services and stuff.
Mm.
So it's not the same as like in India, like the government funded
Government
university.
versus, yeah.
Most universities do get fundings from the governments on different levels and for different things. It's just, as they said, it's just about the accreditation and making sure that the university is registered to provide that course. Because if you're doing a course from an unregistered university for that particular course, you will not get Speech
get
Pathology
the,
Australia accreditation.
All right.
in
Yeah,
my
it's a loop.
case, in my case, it turned out different. I mean, I was very worried that Curtin University was only on conditional accreditation. I didn't even want to go. I was like very low when it happened. I mean, I tried for what happened with me was I got into Flinders. They had a conditional accreditation, but then they gave me conditional offer for speech pathology. But then they were like, we have other applicants, so we couldn't give you a. So you apply, you get a conditional offer saying they'll give you certain conditions. They'll be like, you have to fulfill all those, and then we'll give you a COE. COE is a confirmation of enrollment. In Australia, COE is more important than getting your visa. Visa is easy to get, but COE is very difficult. It takes a lot of time to get COE. Well, my COE, it took me like 1 month to get COE, but then I got my visa in like a day.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so what happens is COE is very difficult. So what you get a conditional, and then that conditional will turn into a COE after you've like fulfilled all the conditions.
Okay.
But for me, with Flinders, they gave me conditional offer. They told me that I have to complete my degree. So completing degree and getting a certificate will obviously become July, because I think I was in second year when COVID happened. So I was a little bit late, around July. So by the time I finished my course and I submitted everything, they were like, no, we've given your seat to someone else and all that stuff. And then I had to apply to Curtin, and I got into Curtin, and I was really worried that it was only on conditional status. It was not on full accreditation. I was worried about how uni is going to be. But when I moved here, I was always on a doubt when I moved to Australia. I don't know how it was going to be, But then when I moved here, I was like, no, it doesn't actually, does not really make a difference, because it's quite a big university. And one more thing is, Curtin is in Western Australia. I live in Western Australia, which is kind of like secluded from the whole of Australia. I mean, all of them come from, I mean, I'm coming from the west, actually, the western part of Australia. So there's like and the people here are, it's not like the cities, it's more like a town here. The city is pretty much, very small place, and around it's all, I pretty much live in a town kind of, it's town kind of vibe here. So yeah, so it's pretty much secluded from the whole country. So I feel that might be the reason why we haven't gotten recognition yet. But yeah,
The conditional thing is good. Conditional, what it actually means is that the university is working with Speech Pathology Australia to just match up to their standards, which means the procedures are already in place. It's very similar to the RCI inspection sort of thing. It's established, but then there are some other universities that they've started the course just out of it, just because the demand is high. but they haven't been even registered with Speech Pathology Australia. So those courses are the ones that you really need to be careful about. Having a conditional status and the universities like Curtin is actually quite famous as well. So it means that they are still doing the procedures with SPA to just. So that's good. It's just that making sure that the university as such is good, because I have come across few universities which are not popular, but then just popped up out of the place just because the course has a lot of demand, but they've never been approved by Speech Pathology Australia. And then there were a few students who enrolled into the program, and then it was an entire mess because the fees was lesser as well.
Okay.
Because it's again that loop that you get.
That's circle of life here.
My
Speech
just the
pathologist,
last few questions about masters. Do you have to write an exam after you finish masters to be accredited, or like we
No, I
spoke
think
about
the degree gets you in to become a member of SPA, and then you get certified. So yeah.
You just need to repeat your English proficiency certificate
again.
till you get a PR. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's for PR, but otherwise you will get you become a member of SPA.
Okay.
SPA, Speech Pathology Australia. Yeah.
And getting a job after masters, does a college, university helps you with it, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've already started going to the fairs. What happened apparently was this India's funding came in like 2 or 3 years back. So jobs have increased because of the India's thing. But Western Australia has a lot of job opportunities for speech pathologists. I've seen that. I mean, it's in demand here, literally. Well, I went to some of the fairs, and they were like, I told them I already did my bachelor's, I'm doing my master's, and so. They were like, oh, why don't you just work with us? Even if you're open to working with casual, we're okay providing you a job, because we're in demand. We really need a speech pathologist. That's how they are. That's the vibe here in terms of jobs. I don't know how it is.
Discuss in advance with a contractor or something, even during our master's program. We need not even reach out them. They just
even get like
into our
placements.
university profile. We continuously get posted for job opportunities and stuff.
Okay.
If you're qualified, definitely get placed somewhere.
Yeah.
The demand is high. Like, to put that into perspective, in Melbourne, the wait list to see a speech pathologist is like a minimum of 9 months. That's like there are a lot of clinics and a lot of universities. Just 9
Vishnu
months.
Priya is not lying. Yeah. Same.
It is like, even if you get an appointment to go for an assessment, like today, you have to wait for 6 months to get again enrolled into therapy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For assessment, you have to wait for a certain period, and even after that, for therapy, you have to wait for another certain period.
Yeah,
it's really not good. Yeah, it's really not good.
Yeah, you've got a good demand actually.
Yeah, at my place, I have 247 in waiting, and the waiting period is, as Vishnu Priya said, is 9 months. Over that, there was one young adult, like the boy came in, and he played soccer and all that, and he's vocal abusing a lot, himself. And one day he woke up and there was no resonation in his sound, in his voice. The voice was gone, and there's pitch breaks, voice breaks, and he couldn't like speak at all. The family didn't take him to the doctor at all. When they started coming to me, it's been 1.5 years, they didn't visit. So when they came for the therapy, and I said, like, you don't have even a diagnosis, how, like, what kind of voice therapy I should start? Like, I don't know, right? So they went to their GP, general physicians, and general physician then referred to somebody else because of the whole loop of NDIS again. They had the appointment. I talked to them in May. They had an appointment in October.
My goodness.
To see the ENT, which was referred by the GP. So it's not about just speech therapy as well. It is also about the whole healthcare system thingy. So yeah. So when Vishnu Priya said, I was not surprised, because it happens.
Healthcare professionals as a whole.
So wait, I have a question. So you in the clinics, you see everybody, children, adults, everybody. There's no, like in America, I think they predominantly see pediatrics, they predominantly see geriatrics. There's nothing like that in Australia?
So I think the geriatric population is always obviously at home, I guess, right? Because I have been just seeing pediatric and mostly young adults. Yeah. But I haven't seen anybody who's over max
So
60s.
it depends on
14.
your
14 is
workplace,
the,
I
yeah,
guess.
14
Yeah.
is, yeah.
I mean, I've heard it's based on the client. I mean, the way you work as well. Your clinical setting is important. Like,
Correct.
if you go to like,
You should, right?
aged care is a big thing in Australia. Aged care or geriatric care. So you work as, I was looking at part-time jobs with what I can do with what I know. So when I was seeing that, there is something called a social worker, or not a social, sorry, a support worker, where you would support
Support worker,
geriatric
yeah.
patients with what they do. When you start going into that pool, you start to notice that there are geriatric speech pathologists. So clinical setting as well is important. If you go to like
Exactly.
public sector, you have something called CDC, Child Developmental Center, that works with non-NDIS clients that don't fall in under NDIS. So that's like predominantly like, fluency, language, or phonology. And that's one section. That's obviously pediatric. And then you have NDIS. And then you have a private, lot of private
would have
clinics.
autism ID and all.
Yeah. Pretty much like disability, children with disability who require that funding, who require that
long-term
additional support from the government.
Got it.
So that's ABIs. Yeah.
And you would have hospital setups also, right?
Hospital setups also, and then you have old age homes as well.
Even in hospital, like neonatal setup, the usual medical SLP thing in India as well. There's a lot of highlight on the neonatal dysphagia as well, like newborn and things.
And even school, is there like
school speech pathology is also, but I haven't seen much. I mean, here, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Speech pathology, private clinicians who sometimes go as consultants in schools.
Exactly.
Demand and there's a lack of supply, so it's more one person just running around and trying to fill in.
That's what happens. Yeah.
Okay. Last question. Yeah, Manasa.
And one more thing, there's also this one section where they go to rural areas in Australia. I don't know if it's there in other states. In Western Australia, pretty much a small part of it is the city and towns, and otherwise it's all the the Aboriginal community, right, in Australia. So like I came to know this because I went to a careers fair recently, where you get to go work on site with so it's all like remote areas where you get to, they give you like accommodation and take care of you, but then you go on camps. You have like the whole camp set up with jeeps and all that, and a very minimal speech therapy kit and all. And then you run around and go to these Aboriginal community people, and then you work on for them as well. The thing with this, not many people prefer to go there, but what happens is, so what's happening is they're advertising the jobs now, and they want more speech pathologists in the thing, because we need to go really far, and people here really don't want to go live that far from home and all that stuff. Like someone asked me, will you be okay with going that far? I'm like, I'm already away from home.
Not so bad.
I know, I'm already away from home. It doesn't really matter to me. And
no, Perth is away from Australia also. Like people like to go to Bali instead of Perth, and they say like this is another country for us. I've heard people saying that.
Pretty much.
Because
you have like
Western Australia a lot, right?
Yeah, you have like Western Australia, a whole lot of like land, forests and desert, and then you have Sydney and Adelaide and Melbourne. People go to the east in Australia. The east part is all Sydney. People here go to the east to study. Like how we in India we go to the city to study. No, to the cities to study courses. People go to east to study. Yeah.
Okay. My last question regarding masters is, can you work as a researcher? I think Vishnu Priya could answer this. If you do masters in Australia, could you work as a researcher? Like, all of this is the clinical part, but could you work in research also?
Yeah, of course, yes. It just depends on the research experience that you have. The courses over in Australia usually has like bachelors with honors. If you can provide proof that you've done a project, you've done a research project, that's big experience. And then you can work as a researcher. So if you have research experience, you can work as a researcher. Pretty straightforward. Caveats there.
A lot of people here, they do their masters and then they directly do their PhD because in bachelor's has a honors. So you do a project in your bachelor's itself. So you directly do your masters. A lot of people keep asking me, and they're like, "Why are you doing your masters? You've already done your bachelor's, right?" One
But
is
you can do PhD after B.Sc.
no,
Yeah, so
not if you've done it from India.
Yeah,
But if you've done it in
India.
Australia, you can directly do.
Bachelor's with honors over here. So in India, it's like bachelor's, master's, PhD. In Australia, the general trend is bachelor's, honors, and then PhD. They don't go into masters. So honors degree is like a 1-year research degree. It's basically a final year of masters, focusing just on research aspects. So you work on a
They do a
project,
project. Like how
and
we do
then
our dissertation and masters.
So
yeah.
maybe like suppose somebody from India who's done their bachelor's in India could do their honors in Australia and then do PhD. Is that possible?
Can do that.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Courses, but yes, you can enroll for an honors degree. But then again, the courses over here, they do have research components, just like what we have. But the bachelor courses should satisfy the honors requirement So if that's mostly with the masters, even with the masters, because it's part of our master's program, I think they require around 25 credit points for masters, and our masters in India comes up to 12.5 or something like that. There is a slight gap, but then if you have first author publications or other research experiences, they do take that on.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I think we're done with questions on masters. Just a few more questions. So visa, regarding visa. So student visa easy to get? Vishnu, Priya Shree.
Yeah, I almost got my visa on the same day. I just applied in the morning and I just got it by the evening.
Okay, so student visa is not hard, but work visa also, I think it would be something which your company would help you with that, right?
Yeah. So when I applied for, so basically that was a very strange thing for me, like because I studied about it. So when my company sponsored my visa and all the documentation and all that went from me, so I was researching. So your visa is somehow is not very much dependent on your qualifications and your experiences or anything. It's more dependent on the company's profile, how it is with the government and the tax officers and everything else.
Okay.
So if my visa would be rejected, I shouldn't be sad because it's the company's fault they didn't qualify. Yeah, so that's how it is. So the only basic qualification, like as I said earlier, like the bachelor's and the experience, that's what the immigration people are going to look at, and rest of it is going to be the company's profile. So and it took a month. It generally takes 3 to 4 weeks to come for. I'm on a temporary skill shortage visa, which is called 482. And it's valid for 4 years. So it came in like in a month. Yeah.
Pathologists do get a priority in terms of visa because it's in the skill list and it's in the in-demand skill list because there is a over here. So there's like a push. But yeah, it depends. And there are like different visas, like different subclasses that allows you working rights in Australia. So
okay.
So in terms of students, I think I already told that COE is tough to get. Getting a confirmation of enrollment from the university is the big process here. Because when in like the admission process, right, you show your proof of funds, that you have enough funds with you, and then all the documentation, you have to do a lot of affidavits where you say, that agreement paper you sign, right? That you have to say that you're your parents' daughter. You have to say that you've done your bachelor's in India. You've lived with it, and a lot of affidavits that you submit. The whole of that process is for the COE, not for the visa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like the university checks you before the government even like
before
yeah. So you get a COE from a university, the government is like, yeah, okay, so we know you are eligible to move to the country. And visa is pretty much easy in terms of Australia. And for the students who are applying, we don't have a letter of recommendation in Australia. That's like a big advantage for a lot of students. Getting your LOs from professors in India will be done with life by the time we get a letter of recommendation. But in Australia, you don't have an LOR. You need to submit an SOP, a statement of purpose.
Statement of purpose.
And everything else, but you don't need a letter of recommendation from.
Okay.
Unlike in UK
For my
and
research degree, I had to submit LORs.
Okay.
But that was a
Okay.
very specialized clinical research stuff. So maybe for masters or bachelors,
Masters.
or PhDs, it's not
Masters, Australia does not ask for a letter of
For
recommendation.
masters, okay.
Masters.
Yeah.
When you're going to UK university, you do.
For my research degree, I had to submit
Okay.
LOR. Maybe that's something that I discovered now. I didn't know. I thought just
Okay. Can you give me a little bit of insight about the PR, getting a PR in Australia?
So for PR for a medical professional, the points are really low. It's about like 75, if I'm not wrong. So with your course, it automatically will be having like 55, 50 plus. So with a minimal of work experience or just by getting a job from any of the Australian companies, you would be easily able to get your PR within like a year of your course completion, within a
Okay.
year.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
And one more news for students applying to Australia is that when you do masters, that is, you get the student subclass 500 is what we are on. You get like, I think, 4 years post work.
4
Added to
years. It is
the
4.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
once it
Earlier
was
it
like
was
2
2 to
years for
3.
regional students.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
now for anyone who is doing it in Australia, actually like Modi came to Australia recently, right? That time they kind of
Yeah.
they kind
Yeah. A
of did
lot
that
of
thing
things
where
change. Yeah.
anyone
Yeah.
who's
Okay.
In our favor.
doing masters in Australia, they'll get like 4 years post work with their student visa.
Oh,
So
okay. So
that's
four
like
So
years
it's
you
it's
can
called a
brand
TR,
new
I
news.
guess, right? It's called a TR.
No, I'm not
Yeah.
aware of that. I always
Yeah, it's called a
ever
TR,
Okay,
like
fine.
temporary
Yeah.
residency. After the
Okay,
student
okay.
visa, it's called a TR, temporary residency. You get it, and there are no, you have full work rights and everything else, and
Oh,
you
okay.
just need. You can extend it if you want to, but again, within like being in the country for 3 years, you anyway are eligible to apply for a permanent residency.
PR.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I think PR is fine. I wanted to just add one more question here. So we spoke about how students who have done bachelors in India can do masters in SLP in Australia. Is there any other related course they can do, like like a diploma or a 1 year course, anything related to the speech and hearing field, speech field, I would say. And if you're aware of it, I don't know.
my research course was like a specialized degree. It was in clinical science research. It was in Melbourne University. So that just required a bachelor's degree
Okay.
with specific interest and stuff. But then for me, because I had a master's degree, it added on to my portfolio, which is the reason why I got it easily. But otherwise, I think it depends on the universities. There are a few that offer dysphagia courses. I'm not. I haven't done that, or I don't know much about it.
Okay.
But there are a lot of people who can do occupational therapy courses, and over here there are different courses, which is often known as the TAFE courses, so certification courses, like certification level 4, which basically in the Australian education system is it's like after you finish your 12th grade, if you want to do any of these specialized courses and stuff, people try to gain experience before enrolling for it, like just to get an idea if you want to do it.
Okay.
And for that particular reason, there are courses like speech pathology assistant courses or dental assistants and things like that that would give you the opportunity to see what you would be doing along with the experience and expertise, which is the reason why there are these certification levels over here as well. But I'm not sure if international students can avail those because it's
No, they can't. Yeah, they can't.
Yeah.
So
So
TAFE
those
doesn't. TAFE doesn't provide you the visa. Number one, like a student visa, it's just like for the PRs who are here. Number one. Second is, even though if I am on a 482, I cannot go to TAFE and like study because it's conditional. My visa is also conditional. Like obviously there are two conditions. Like one is health insurance and second is working for the same employer. And I can't study on any other temporary visas. But if I'm a PR, I can work and I can go to TAFE and upgrade my education.
It's more of
Yeah.
like a diploma. Yeah.
Yeah, diploma courses. But you have to be a resident of the country to be able to go to TAFE and get some courses done for yourself.
TAFE and all has like all these skill-based courses, not only healthcare and a lot of skills and all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So yes, I think that's most of the questions. Could you give me a number about the median salary for Australia, for SLPs in Australia? Or is there like a site you can refer me to so I can add it on the links below? Because most of them's first question is how much will I earn?
So here, labor law is really, really strong in Australia. It's like really good. Like the kind of and the amount of authorities an employer has, equal, and I would say slightly more an employee has.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So as much as I have heard and the clinicians I have met and I've been working with, the people who have like 3 years of experience with a bachelor's from India get around 70 to 75,000 Australian dollars annually. And if you have like around 5 years plus or 10 years around experience in that gap, then you can negotiate till 85 and 90,000 as well. That is like the slab as much as I know. But when you start working and keep getting experience and looking at the requirements of the country to get a speech therapist on there like on board, you can get increments in your salaries every 6 months if you really want to. But
Okay.
yeah, they are ready to pay, and the pay is really good.
So is this like without SPA registration or with it, like, is there a difference in that?
I would say, yeah. I mean, if you are a SPA registered person, then you can really negotiate really well. Number one. Second is the opportunities and the options, like really increase for you. They do.
Okay.
But there are like few people who are not very much like, as we've talked about earlier, that there are some clinics who CDC, as Manasa also said, that there are CDCs which just cater to the people who are not NDIS funded. They will not, but at the same time, they will also not be able to pay you that much.
Okay.
Right. So that's how the circle works. I think the SPA helps you, yes, get better opportunities, more and more options to choose from. But 70 to 75,000, I think it's a median salary. I can say that you can easily get. That is like minimum. Yeah.
Okay.
They provide packages as well, like sometimes they provide you with cars if you're a mobile speech therapist, sometimes health, and yeah, they sometimes provide packages.
Okay.
But 75 is like a median level salary for.
There's also like superannuation. It's always like N plus, and you always should know that if it is inclusive 75, then you're not at a good salary. I'm sorry, just to let everybody know. So if you have like a salary of 75,000 plus super, then it's like a good thing. Super is like now the government has increased it to 11% recently. Earlier it was like 10 or 9.8 or something like that. So super is like in India as we have Provident Fund. Yeah. So more established organizations do PF. Here they call it superannuations. So that is over and above your salaries.
That being said, we also pay a lot of tax over here. So
yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I let's just.
No, a lot of people ask me, is the living expenses a lot? Is it like pretty expensive to live there? Could you, like, anybody wants to comment about that?
I haven't said so I'd rather not speak, I guess.
Because I've come up with a number. What happened was I live at uni accommodation. I think we should talk about accommodation as well. Yeah, for students. Yeah, so like a lot. I mean, I live at uni accommodation, so I calculate around $800 to $1,000 per month.
Okay.
I've calculated that much. That's including rent and groceries and everything.
All of that?
Everything together. $1,000. I've calculated. I mean, I've been trying to come up with the number.
Okay.
So yeah.
But I think it would
As a
be
student,
definitely more. For you, yes, but it must be more for the others because it won't be an accommodation types, right?
I think it's going to be for the student, but in my opinion, I think as a person who's just working with family, I think you're getting paid enough to live up to the living expenses as well. So there is a good balance. Like if the living expenses are more, you're getting paid.
Even people who have yes.
Sorry, if you try and convert that amount to Indian rupees, then it might look like a huge amount.
Huge amount, yeah.
In standards, I think it's fairly priced. The employment system is good.
Even my friends who are on part-time, not only full-time working, who are on part-time as well, are able to manage their expenses and still save a bit. So yeah.
Okay.
I think expenses are also like expenses vary from state to state, like city to city. I recently, also personally, yes, Mansa, that's a big thing. Yeah, I recently went to Melbourne because I love traveling. So I've been to Melbourne, I've been to Adelaide recently, And then I came back to Sydney. So Sydney is like the costliest city, and I'm not like bragging because I'm here, but it's very costly. Melbourne is much better.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
And
much
Perth is
better in so
way
many
cheaper.
ways. Yes, right.
Perth is like
When
half
you
the
said
price of
$1,000, I was like, that
I
much I
was
buy the groceries for in a month. Like,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, Perth is very cheap and it comes groceries now, it's like Indian price for me here.
The rent in
don't
Melbourne,
rub
it's
it,
like
don't rub it.
No,
like home
Oh, okay.
per
Yeah, when
week.
Yeah.
she said it was just $1,000 with a student, even I'm using the uni accommodation and I'm living in a student accommodation. My room rent alone for a month would be like $1,200. So like, yeah, in that calculation, I was like, oh my God, what am I even doing? So yeah,
Manasa is
it's
saving a
really
lot of
varies
money.
from
Manasa, good
city to
job.
city.
Out
Yeah.
of
yeah,
your
Yeah.
Perth is like that.
So your Vishnu
Okay.
Priya is in Melbourne, Vishal is in Sydney, Priya Shree is in Canberra, correct?
Canberra.
Okay. All these
Ooh,
are main important
that's a lot
cities,
of
I think.
diversities. Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. This is
I
nice.
forgot
Yeah.
where Kokila was. I'll find
She's
it.
in Sydney. She's in NSW
Sydney.
because I
Okay, okay.
looked up therapy bubbles.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, she's in NSW only.
Okay. I just one more person wanted a little bit more information regarding PhD, but I think would this also be available in Speech Pathology Australia website because none of you have done it, so I thought
PhD related information, I don't think it's available in this
okay.
part
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
university.
All
You
right.
have to check the universities because over here, PhDs are not just restricted to speech pathology department as such. You can do it with cognitive communication science, do it with psychology, psychiatry, pediatrics. So it all depends on the kind of supervisor that you want to, and it all comes into personal research, looking into universities, looking into departments, looking into what kind of supervisor and their expertise that you're looking for, and things like that.
Okay.
So you'll have to do that independent
Little bit more
research.
research. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay then. So yes, I think this is the end of the most important questions. Just a few more questions like what do you like about Australia? I think we'll start with Priya Shree.
Yeah, so the first thing is it's coming alone from a household from India. It's like I wouldn't say I am over pampered, but I am pampered. I haven't even went to a university all by my own. I haven't done anything, so I'm just learning life. I like it here. And personally, Canberra is pretty cold. It is always freezing cold, but it is good. It feels good. It's so quiet and calm. Since it's a capital city, you have like the diversity of people who we see here. It's really diverse and I really love it. It's pretty cold and calm.
Nice. Mansa?
Yep. Well, initially I did have a good time, but then, like as Priya Shri said, living alone, like plays a big toll on you, and then you start learning to live on your own. But otherwise, Perth is fine. The thing is, it's not like you don't get that city environment here. It's more of like a town, and people are more. Haven't seen much of the outside world. So when they see a lot of international students, they're like a little bit weirded out. I've noticed that. But otherwise, it's good. Australia is good in terms of people are approachable and sweet and all. It's not they're not very rude. That's there. I expected rudeness from the citizens in here, but then they're pretty sweet. Yeah.
Okay. Vishal, what do you like about Australia?
Okay, so coming from Delhi, I like AQI because in Delhi it's 300 all the time. It's here it's 5 to 8. 8 is like for these people, like there's pollution in the air. It's like, what are you talking about anyway? So AQI, the air is really fresh and clear, really nice. And as Manasa has mentioned, because the image of Australia, what I had from like way long back we go, like keep thinking and listening, and we have always known Australia for the cricket matches because that's how I knew. Yeah, as like Australia cricket match, that's all. So I have heard, I've also expected people to be like, as Mansa said, rude and like expats and international people and taking our jobs and all, but people are really nice, again approachable, nice. And you pass on like today I went for a hike in the morning, like 3 hours and all that, and they looked at us. Obviously I didn't realize that it's racism or he's being really nice because he folded his hand and said namaste to three and all of us were idiots. I didn't know which part
Cultural
of it was true.
appropriation.
Yeah, but then I
Then
appreciated it, and then
you could
everybody's
say it
like,
like
hey,
that.
hi,
Yeah.
good morning, how are you? Like it feels good. Like people are always smiling. The tagline
Yeah.
which I always say, that these people are nice because these are rich.
Mm.
So not that they are rich, that's why they are nice, because they really don't discriminate, and they're really really nice. Like that is one
Okay.
thing I really admire about this place. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, what is something which you would give, like a piece of advice you would give to budding SLPs who want to come to Australia, either to study or to work? What's something you would like to tell them?
Okay, first, so as I was saying that initially, that I will tell something which Manasa has
Yeah,
asked
yeah.
me, please don't come for work. Okay, don't come on a working visa. Please come for studies if you can. And if you really want to be like in a mood of work and you really want to shift to Australia, like make a move to, be prepared, be well prepared, because I wasn't. I'm going to be extremely honest about it,
Yeah.
that I wasn't prepared for this whole spa thing. And talking to Vishnu Priya, I've realized that I'm not the only one who's struggling actually in the process. There are other people who have been through it. So I think my first piece of advice would be, please be prepared for anything which actually can come your way. It can be loneliness, as Mansa has mentioned. It can be the financial triggers in between as well. It can be the homesickness, and it can hit any time. It's not that you start for 6 months and then you're gonna feel better. You go after 8 months to India and come back again, you'll be back to zero again.
Homesick
That's what
again.
I feel. Yeah, right. And you'll be again working on yourself. And I think, yeah, just like to SLPs, I would say, come on the very global front when it comes to studies. Like have evidence-based practices read up, read articles as much as you can, update yourself with whatever is going on globally in the field of speech and language. I think it is going to really, really help when you come into with this first world country's education system. You're really going to think and compare that where we were and where we are here today. I think that is one of the most important topic, that if you are updated enough, your struggles will be there, but they'll be lesser because you will be like pumped up to learn more and more. That's what that's what my personal advice would be.
So that's nice. I think I'll ask Vishnupriya again. What's something which you like about Australia?
I actually love this country. I'm living with my husband over here, and in terms of work, I really love the work culture. I like the respect that we get. I like how it's really transdisciplinary and how people from other profession, like, they really value the opinion and how we can work together as a team. Like, I've seen it in paper, but to see that in practice, I genuinely love it. Like in my team, I think I'm the speech pathologist. We have a neuropsychologist. We have education and development psychologist. We have a neurologist. We have a pediatrician. And then when it comes to talking about a child, it's all of these professionals sitting together and then discussing. And it's just different perspectives for every single person. And then in the end, we come to a point where we come to a consensus. And I really love that. So I genuinely love the work culture over here.
That's really nice.
And it's really beautiful as well. Like, at least in Melbourne, it's really green. It's very pretty. Quality of life is definitely really nice here.
Yeah, the balance is amazing. Like the balance between work and life is really, really
life,
good. Like,
work life.
Yeah. And the flexibility at work as well. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
Like the Australians don't really work after 5, or just like how we sometimes sit in the clinic and do extra work. They don't do it, which is really good.
Not even supermarkets and stuff. Not even supermarkets and stores.
Yeah,
that was a big
Thursday
culture shock for me.
to buy groceries.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can't. When I came here, like in India, we go out in the evening a lot. We don't really travel go out much, or go shopping or go grocery shopping during the day, right? When I moved here, when I learned that everything closes by 5 p.m., I was pretty shocked, pretty silent, and it's all like everything is like pin drop silence. The whole place after 5, it gets very silent here.
Wow.
Yeah, and
you will be
Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays are like the party days or things like that. So Fridays are very vibrant. Shops are open, restaurants are open till midnight. Saturdays also, but Sundays again more calmer and things.
Okay.
But the rest of the week, 5 o'clock, it's done. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah, no, here people do prepare themselves like on Sunday evenings. They don't go out at all. They do prepare themselves for the next day to go back to work, have a 5 days, continue. Yeah, here
Five-day,
you will
I
not
took
find
And
6
people.
see,
days a week.
yeah, I've seen a lot of dedication from they if when they're working, they are working, but when they're at
Yeah,
I've
Okay.
had one of
partying
my
and yeah.
professor like I mean, I was like really inspired. I was like, wow, this is actually nice. We have sometimes professors go out of their way in India to answer like at 8 o'clock in the night. Now, when you mail, they'll reply. But here, right, they tell upfront, they're like, I'm going to be with my family after this time. I'm not going to be answering to your mails. Please mail me during these days and these days. I will only be
Wow.
available then. And even
We
if you
have
mail, they'll be like, I'm
videos.
sorry, I'm with my family. I couldn't do it. And you will actually feel guilty for disturbing their.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, even at work as well. Like if I get a mail and if like my timings are like till 5:30 on Friday, and if I get a mail on 5:35, even then it's noted, my supervisor or my boss wouldn't expect me to reply till Sunday at all. They would wait for Monday morning 9:05. Then they would ask, okay, kid, hey, I sent you a mail on that day. Can you like look it up and just let us know?
Wow.
Feels so good. Like your flexibility, work flexibility. If I don't want to, like Kokila was mentioning earlier, that I wanted to work in the morning and then in the evening, and I wanted to have a break in between. It's there. When I came here and started working, I was given a sheet, preference sheet, that what kind of disabilities, what kind of diagnosis I want to work with. If you say, like I said, because I'm not very qualified in swallowing and all that, and it's one area which I'm like I don't find myself compatible with
Yeah.
at all. I've told them like I cannot work with swallowing patients because first I don't know much about it and I haven't worked. Second, I'm really scared, so I don't want to touch all of these patients. Till today, it's been 6 months around. They haven't given me even one swallowing or anything
Wow.
related to dysphagia, not one. And it's just that's how it is. So it like as Vishnu Priya mentioned that you are respected, your choices are respected. They don't tell you you can't do that. You'll be walking through. No, you present your choices. They do respect that, and it does being like it's being followed throughout. Yeah,
And they respect you even if you are like a subordinate. And well, I
Yeah.
well, I work as a research assistant, right? So like with my work, my like the head of the project like gave me the whole self is that standardized assessment that we use for language. So she gave me that whole kit to carry home, and she asked me to keep it with me and like learn the whole thing and come back. They're open. They want you to learn stuff. It's not like they'll just tell you to do this and then it's not very. You don't feel that stagnancy. You get to learn a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
They just get
Australia doesn't. Yep. Continue, Manasa.
yeah,
Sorry
go
for
ahead.
cutting.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Australia doesn't have these egalitarian terms like sir or ma'am or he's superior to me. It's like it's not there at all. It
yeah,
was
it's not.
initially very difficult for me to call my supervisor, who's like
By the
really
name.
older and experienced than me, by their name. But then you kind of get used to it. And then I'm at this stage where I feel awkward in calling someone in India sir or ma'am, even if they are our professors, because it just you just get used to it so much. And that's another reason why everybody treats you with respect. There's no superior to me or subordinate to me or anything of that when you put your points in forward, or when you talk about your opinions and stuff. It is respected. If it's not, that means that it's not a good workplace. That's not the norm here.
Yeah, yeah,
Ideally
that's right.
it will be respected, and that's a sign of a good workplace. So if you're not getting respected, that means that you're not in a good workplace, because that's the norm here, to respect it.
So I think
They're
burnout is
like that with
something which we
students
get.
as well. The
Yeah,
thing
they
is, they're like
really
that with
value
students
your
as well.
they really value your experience a lot. So one of my observation days, as I said, I went to a private clinic. She was a teacher for 15 years and she has been just working as a speech therapist for the past 5 years. She runs her own private practice. So during an observation, we just had a voice recording and we were just transcribing the script and writing a report. So she was really happy to hear it from me, and she was happy for me to do it when I said it can be done that way. So she was happy to take that into account. I can't really expect that from a professional who is in practice for 5 years to listen to an observational clinician or a student who has just come here. She really felt it made me feel like I was like a part with her and not a student who was observing.
Also, it
Yeah.
comes also with the terms as well, I guess. Like in India, we use the term interns a lot. Here they don't. It's like assistant health, like assistant to a health professional, or AHA, or
Student
assistant to a
clinician.
speech pathology, a student clinician, as Priya, she said, this observational clinician. They have
Yes.
these terms. They don't use interns here, because we have a bit different image of somebody calls, he's an intern. Like, okay, give all the works to him or her, like that. Here, it's those terms are not being used in that context at all. So that also gives a different perspective. You are a professional, allied health
Adding on-
assistant.
In fact,
Yeah.
if the terminology intern, like sometimes it comes in universities, and it's more like the person is an intern. They're not getting paid. You shouldn't give all the work to them. It's more in that context, as opposed to how
Yeah,
it's
They're here to
like-
learn.
like,
Yeah.
just give them everything.
They're here to learn. Even they get more supervisions and more people taking umbrellas around them, like to even cover and like teach them
Like
as
in-
much as possible.
Right.
Criticism is very well received here. I mean,
Mm.
it is like for your improvement. People don't take it that somebody's standing there and like taking out mistakes out of my work. They're just like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. Let's try it this way. Like Priya Shree said, that another person even more senior heard her and then started even trying to at least imply it. Here it's it's different and really nice, positively, I would say.
People are really non-judgmental.
Mm.
Yeah, big. Yeah, it's a huge word. Yeah, true.
So I think we'll just any advice for budding SLPs who want to come to Australia, Vishnu, Priya? Anything you want to tell them? I think Vishal told us that they need to be prepared. They need to be prepared for everything.
It's the same thing that even I have to say. If they are planning to go through the SPA procedures to get registered, just be prepared, because it is a bit overwhelming and it is a bit tricky. A lot of people have tried, and a lot of people did. I mean, to speak the reality of it, there are a few people who changed their professions because they were not able to handle the kind of pressure, and it's immense pressure from different people, like not knowing what needs to be done. So just be prepared for it. Like, if you genuinely love the field, if you really, really want to be in the field, then just do it, but just be prepared for it. That's what I did. Like, I'm just mental. When I moved here in 2019, I started the procedure, and then it was a whole other thing back then. And then I just felt that it was affecting my mental health a lot, which is why I put a pause to it. And then I focused on my research work, and I was very happy with my research work. And now I'm thinking of applying for it now. I feel that I'm mentally prepared now, because I've got the experience now. I've got people that I know. I've got supervisors. I've got a lot of people who can speak on my behalf. So I'm thinking maybe within the next year, I should just apply and get this done and over with. So right now I'm prepared.
Get it.
It's just for new people who are just starting the process, just be prepared for it. That's all. Like, if you're ready, if you know that it's going to be hard, it's not going to be shocking. But if you get into it and then you realize all of these roadblocks, then it might just affect you so much. Yeah. That's at least for me, like in terms of my mental health, it really messed with my mental health a lot.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add, Manasa? Any advice for SLPs who wants to come there to do masters?
Well, I had to really up my writing and referencing game, because when I was in my bachelor's, we never really taught how to reference. That was a big shock for me when I came here. And assessments are a little bit. It's not an easy thing to get through the assessments, and you don't.
I think we lost.
Yeah, she got.
To start learning to write assessments. Yeah, I'm back. So yeah, so what happens with assessments? You need to have a good writing game, because you need to write a lot of assessments like that are like 4,000 word limit assessments, 7-page assessments, where you write. To give you an example, where I had one assessment where I had to write a report and explain about why I wrote each component in that report with evidence-based, theories and rationales for everything. And you need to learn referencing. Writing essays is a good skill to start before you come here.
Okay.
We are used to like answer papers that are pretty much.
So just adding on to what Manasa says, not just the justification, you have to provide evidences for your justification. That's the hard part. So even if you're giving an assessment plan or a therapy plan for a client, you have to provide with evidences. Why do you think that certain goal will be beneficiary for a certain client? It differs from person to person, that doesn't matter, but you have to provide evidences, a solid evidences, that too not from 10 years back or 15 years back. Some recent evidences
Yeah.
which has been
Everything
provided.
needs, every sentence on paper needs a reference.
Yeah, whatever
So
you are
referencing we
writing,
need to
you have
learn.
the justification. Justification, that evidence-based practice, we all do evidence-based practice. So back in India, when doing an assessment, all I need to know is like, I need to get a test material, which is a standard test tool, and I can just use it. But here, I have to have a evidence-based practice. More
A
than
reason as to why.
yes,
Yeah.
you have to give a reason why are you using this specific test tool for this specific client, and how do you think it is gonna benefit that client. That
And
is really
everything has to be researched back. And when it comes to those assessments, as I mentioned, we should every sentence that you mention needs your reference. You can't just write essays. And we kind of learn that when we come to masters, but here it's like an already known skill for bachelors as well. When you write assessments here,
Yeah.
when you do degrees,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
everyone knows how to like reference and all that.
There is no
Justification.
exams or stuff like that, so it's only assignments which you need to do. So it's all kind of like whatever you read, you have to provide with an evidence, you have to justify your answer. You can't, you have to keep updating and get updated with the evidences that is keep on updating. Even if you provide an evidence which is solidly acceptable and solidly approved like 10 years back, if some other evidence has popped up in the next 5 years that you have missed out, you would lose marks. That really, they don't really consider that. You have to be updated to the time.
Wow. Anything else you want to add? Any advice, Priya Shree?
It's good. It's not really so scary to come for masters. So hearing from those two people just coming for work and suffering a lot. Masters is hard, but it's not as hard as coming for a work. So you can do it. You will have like 2 years to suffer. So it will be kind of evenly suffering rather than
If you have a choice to do masters.
Yes.
If you have a choice to
when I was going
masters.
through Mansa's questions, towards the end, that's what I realized. Like, you know what? This has made so many things clear in my head that if I have to suggest somebody what I'm going to suggest, please come for masters. Because if you are not learning, and if you know me, if you're not learning from my mistakes, what's the point? So come for masters, get spa with masters, and then just start working. Yeah,
you really
it
have
just
2
becomes
years
a little.
to figure out what and how it should be done.
Yeah, like you people were talking about like assessments and like why are you doing what assessments? I've also like, because again, as I mentioned earlier, that I was not aware about these assessments because in India we really don't have, especially I didn't have in my studying and even working environment and duration as well. So I started reading the assessments itself instead of like thinking what needs to be done. So I started reading all the assessments, that why they are done and what is the age criteria and what are the diagnoses you use this one for, this one for, this one for. So this way it has helped me a lot to learn about. Now I pretty much know when a client comes in, like, you know, what kind of assessments I can use. Should I use PLS-5? Should I use SELF-3, or it just has to be an observational assessments and everything else? So yeah, somewhere it is tricky because we were not aware. But once you start reading it, the assessments are not hard. They're like, everything is, instructions are so clear. The instructions are so clear in the assessments. It's like so easy. But then I go back to Manasa's the statement of that reports. The reports comes out of it. It takes everything, all of your writing skills, and you know how to put words and where to put them. That is one skill which you have to have in you before you write a report.
Okay, then I think we're done with most of the discussions, most of the questions, advice, financial part. We've covered everything, right from master studying there to licensing, working, financial and loans, and general advice. Is there anything else you guys want to add? No, I think that's
it's a beautiful country and it needs speech and language pathologists as much. I don't know any other country at this point of time. Yeah, it's an amazing field to be in at this point of time. Anybody who's like, as Vishnu Priya said, that if you really love the field and if you really want to be a speech and language pathologist, I would definitely most certainly recommend to be in a master's course, please
Mm.
come study, be a speech therapist, and
Study, do
it's a huge, it's a good way to be here in this country.
You wouldn't regret your choice.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
nice.
exactly. You would. Yeah, you would. I would say that. Yeah. That's why I started my statement with, if you love the field, if you really
If
want to
you
be a
love
speech
the
and language
field.
pathologist, then you wouldn't. Yeah.
Would be worth it.
Okay, then. So thank you so much for this discussion. Anybody who's watching this video can add the questions in the comment box, and then maybe I'll connect them to one of you who could be able to help them out. Or I'm sure if I put the links in the description regarding speech pathology website, that would be able to help them out. Thank you so much for watching.
Hi, thank you so much for watching the video. If you have any queries, questions, doubts, or discussions, add it on in the comments below and I'll help you out, or you could DM me on Instagram. Okay, bye.